Hey everybody, John here, Hot Rods in the Woods, on a cold October morning. Got up this morning, 38 degrees. So, I've got the wood stove going. We got her zooming all the way up past 60 degrees in the barn so far. Let me see, oh yeah, we're at 60. So, I'm gonna start today. I'll do a little cleanup, but as I do that, I'm gonna explain a few things and how we're gonna make all this happen. So, I've got a new 4-link assembly for the rear end, which although I do have it, I'm going to modify it because this is a parallel 4-link. And I purchased the parallel 4-link for a couple reasons. Number one, it comes with the brackets I need. It comes with some of the stuff I need. But it's reasonably inexpensive, and half of it is good and the other half isn't so good. So let me explain what I'm going to do. These bars, I don't know what you want to call them. They in the front, they'd be a radius arm. In the back, they'd kind of be like a ladder bar. So if we set up a ladder bar style suspension, I can go with those. The problem with those is when they mounted them like this, they mount them at an angle toward the center. Then they rely on the spring as a panhard bar, if you will, to keep the differential from moving side to side. So what I'm planning on doing is I am going to cut all the brackets off of the rear differential. I have to weld up the hole that we talked about earlier. I'm going to make them a standard ladder bar slash, it would be a 3-link, 4-link, whatever. But I'm going to go parallel to the frame rails. And when doing so, that opens up the center a little bit, which I can use for other stuff later, which I'll get to. But the brackets that come with this 4-link assembly are perfect. They even match the holes. So I can turn the bars straight forward. I can weld brand new brackets on the rear differential. And that gives me my setup for there. Then on top of that, I've also ordered a panhard bar, which the panhard bar now sets where the differential sits side to side. So my panhard bar will come off, which keeps the rear end from moving side to side. And then my coilovers will be in the back. So if that makes sense, that's how we're going to do it. In doing that and using part of this, it leaves me some other parts which I can use on another project or later. But if you go to buy everything to do the suspension that I'm talking about, it's $1,000. By doing it this way, it was a couple hundred. Using part of the existing, adding the brackets. I have the coilovers, of course. That's a whole nother thing. I got QA1s, so that was different. That's a little more expensive. But the rest of this stuff I can use for something else. So that's the plan. On the front suspension, I have to unbolt it. I have to turn the entire front axle around, which will put the rotors in front of the axle. Now, there's a whole bunch of different theories as to should the calipers be in front of the axle or behind the axle. And the reality is the axle doesn't care and the brakes don't care. The reason I know this is if you look at my wife's Cadillac SRX, it's a 2012, it's not new. It has the calipers in front. If you look at my pickup truck or my Avalanche, the calipers are in the back. So apparently they just don't care. And if you think about rotating mass, it doesn't matter where you put it. You're grabbing a round surface and you're trying to stop it. So whether you put it in the front or the back really isn't going to make any difference. So by turning this around, I instantly get my caster in the right place. By removing these brackets, well, I'm not removing the brackets, they stay. I'm just unbolting the radius arms. I'm going to unbolt the radius arms, move them to the other side. Then I have purchased the brackets for the shock mounts, which bolt right on top. I have all new bushings for here because even these are goobered up. They've got wrong nuts on them and it's a mess. So I'll remove my leaf springs, make it so it actually has a suspension, and away we go. So at the same time, while I have the front suspension apart, I'm going to make my bracket for my rack and pinion steering to now mount behind the axle, which is where it should be in the first place. Once again, that's another thing that doesn't matter. The reason it needs to be behind the axle in this particular application is it will sit so high that the steering actually hits the spring. Remember, the leaf spring is the whole suspension, so as it bounces up and down, you can't have this thing going up and down on the axle and banging into the bottom of the leaf springs. So we'll set that up. This is a Mustang 2 rack and pinion. They're cheap. You can buy them for a couple $100 or less. So that'll go right in. That cures that. So at that point, I'm going to start moving stuff around and jockeying stuff. I'll throw you on time lapse, and you can see me start to clean up this ridiculous mess. So. Okay, that was just a few minutes of gobbledygook. Pick up all these fine bolts with the wrong washers that held the thing that's supposed to keep you safe in, i.e. the steering. So the rack was held on by 2 3/8 bolts drilled through the axle with just a bunch of 1/2-inch washers, wrong size. So I'm not using, I don't think, any of the bolts that came out of this car. I haven't seen anything that tells me that it was put together right. Even the body panels, if you've ever worked with an old car like this, you know that back then they didn't even have drywall screws, for one. And a lot of this stuff was carriage bolt style. The reason there are no welds in this frame is because they didn't weld the frames. They used rivets. It was quick, it was easy, it was solid. Rivets are the way to go. Get them red hot, slide them in the hole, beat on one side while holding the other, and poof, you've got a solid structure. That being said, no welds. Obviously, this didn't have any welds on it either, obviously. I mean, I took the motor mounts off with a hammer in a minute. It's more like bubble gum. But I'm replacing all of the bolts. They will be grade 8s where necessary, grade 5s where there isn't major structure, and then your standard hardware grade for the body and stuff, because it's nothing as far as structural. So out of all the bolts, I've probably got 10 pounds of bolts. There's less than 1/2 pound of bolts that match each other. Even the body panels where they're put together, the fenders where they attach to the running boards and stuff, are 3 and 4 different sizes of screws. They've got 1/4-inch fine threads, 1/4-inch coarse threads. They have them varying from 3/4 of an inch all the way up to 1.5 inches. They had them spacered, washered, shimmed, just everything. So when it goes back together, it's going to be a lot closer to right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the scary part. I'm going to figure out how to get the frame suspended. And I think how I'm going to do that is I'm going to put a 2x4 through the middle, a jack stand on one side and a jack stand on the other. And as I unbolt, I'll just pick it up, raise the jack stands up. And then I'll have to get some help to pull the frame out of here. But I should be able to do that on all 4 corners and actually get the suspension loose. So stand by for a few minutes and we'll figure out if that's going to work. So I'm taking it down just a little bit so I can step over the front of the lift. That's one of the disadvantages of having a 4-post lift. But I've come up with a brilliant solution as to how to jack this up. And I don't even know why I own these things, but I bought them. Let me sneak by you. These jacks are called easy lifts. They go up quite a ways. And I bought them for when I was doing the front suspension in the Chrysler, because I put them under the back to hold it in place, lift it up, so I could set the front end down. You can see that in one of the old videos on the gasser build. But this, I just went out to the wood pile and I got about a 6-foot long rough cut 2x4. And if I put my jack stand here and I put this one here, I suddenly realized that it's too low. So I need to get it jacked up somehow, which I can do with just a little jack that I just happen to have back here. So it might be a little bit of a roundabout way of getting things done, but when you're working by yourself, ingenuity is a very important thing. So what we'll do is we'll get this jack stand out of the way, and I'll have to do this for both sides. We'll slide this under here. Now watch, this jack won't go up high enough probably. Then we'll have to use a little block of wood on it, because that's just luck. Yeah, she's not going to go up high enough. All right, so we'll go get a little block. Let's see how this shakes out. Now, one good thing about this, and I know it's kind of sketchy, is the front end of this thing doesn't weigh anything. Now, how did you just slide? Get back there. What's going on? She doesn't like that. Trying to get the jack directly underneath it is kind of a trick, because the diamond plates want to roll the jack away. All right, so it gets a little scary here. Kids, don't try this at home. All right, there's that side. Now I'm going to go over and do the same thing to the other side, and hopefully it'll work. If not, it'll all fall down. And for safety's sake, we'll go ahead and chock the wheel. Just keep the whole mess from rolling forward. All right, so we'll do the same thing over here. See how it rolled out of there? That's the diamond plate catching it. So we have to get our wheels in the right place. And let's see what happens here. And once again, it is caught. It's like until it catches the frame. Once again, kids, don't try this at home. It's trying to pull the jack out of my hand. So this is a balancing act. All right, there's phase one. Now, if I were in my 20s, I could have just picked that up and done it with my hand. But not so much anymore. Now we have to figure out why they won't turn. But I'm okay the way she is. So here's what's going to happen first. I'm going to go ahead and knock the U-bolts out. And it will come down with a crash. And that's okay, because it's just going to bounce. So, they appear to be about 5/8. Grab an impact, and we'll pop them loose. Yeah, why not? Let's take the back two off first. Put some gloves on so they can find the pieces of me that get tore up when the axle falls down. Just makes it easier on the ER. So here we go. Prepare for Armageddon. There's the one. Once again, and we know it had nuts on the back of it for spacers. Ooh, that one's a little tight. Yeah, that one's a little tight. Leave that one loose. Grab a ratchet. I want y'all to laugh. I am grabbing my Bauer ratchet. I'm sorry, whatever it is, Pittsburgh, Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh. Yes, I do have snap-on ratchets. I actually like the handles on these better. I mean, they pretty much clone the end of it. They're good little ratchets. They're cheap. They aren't hundreds of dollars. They do the job. Yes, I do have snap-on ratchets. Yes, I do like them. But for some reason, I have just started using this stuff out of my cheap tools box. And the only reason they're in my cheap tools box is because my old barn was not protected. So all my snap-on stuff sat in my good toolbox inside the container, unused. Well, that's interesting. Y'all see that? All right. Ta-da. And no appendages were hurt. So, oh look, there's more Mickey Mouse welding up here. Well, I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom in a minute, but there's the old U-bolts, and they actually surprisingly look good. We're changing those. I bought new ones. I bought them so I don't have to use the upper piece where the crank start handle went. So I'm just going to take you up here real quick. Why? Why would they be welding right there? That's the kind of stuff that scares you. So, and also now that I've got it apart, I'm going to go ahead and rebuild that leaf spring. We'll get rid of about, well, every leaf that you see doubled needs to be removed. So we'll get rid of 2 here. We'll get rid of 1 here. We'll get rid of this very top one. So a minimum of 5. I'll probably take out 6 or 7. Just to make it a little more cushy in the front. I bought the Speedway Motors bolt kit for the front axle. Let me show you what I got. I bought brand new shackles and bushings and a brand new bolt kit, U-bolts, and the brackets. Comes with a plate for the top, everything you need. And it was, I don't know, 50 bucks. Why would you take a chance on losing your life because you didn't bother to take the one extra step? So, that being said, I'm going to take this shirt jacket off because it's getting a little warm in here, which I love. And then I'll get back, I'll pull the radius arms off and we'll go farther. It was chilly in here this morning. I did bring it up 15 or so degrees, which just makes me happy. Yeah, these are going to be 9/16. I can see, oh, and on that side it has 2 big lock washers, so the lock washer's all boogered up. It never ends. The hits just keep on a-coming. Okay, so here we go. I got the bolts out of the radius arms. Now I'm taking the bolts out of the shackles. Now here's where you need to be a little careful, because obviously I'm not being as careful as I ought to be. We'll put these in a different bucket. Now I'm going to drop the radius arms. When I drop the radius arms down, it's all going to kind of fall farther. And we don't want it rolling into the jacks. This is so corny. It's just hard to imagine. There we go. All right, so now she's down. Now I'm going to remove the leaf spring because that's the heaviest part. We'll see how that works, being as the bushings, I guarantee, are shot. So we'll grab a little hammer and let's see if the shackles actually slide out. They probably won't. Huh? My golly. Now we'll get a big pry bar. And let's see what happens here. Oh, this is going to be a pain. I could see it. You know what? Probably would have been better off to leave them up while the radius arms were attached with a bolt. It wouldn't rotate. Let's see what happens with this side. All right, different pry bar. It was right where I put it, right where it was supposed to be. I just, as my wife said, you can't find anything. Ah. All right, there's one side. Now, if I can get the other side to play, I imagine this is going to be a lot heavier than it looks. There we go. Yeah, it is. It's good and heavy. We're going to lighten that up a bunch. Okay. Now we're to the point that we can pull the leaf spring right out of here. Okay, so now we're going to see if we can take these radius arms apart and all and make those correct. So with the axle backwards, they are actually backwards as well. They look to be, well, let's see if this cotter pin has a wobble in it. Not so much. So that'll be fun. We'll get a pair of pliers and a cotter pin tool. Decisions. Guess we'll just start with a regular old pair of needle nose. See what happens. I grabbed the wrong pair of gloves. So we'll come over here and get another pair. So we have two kinds of gloves. We have the, oh God, that could hurt. So we wear a heavier glove. And then I really don't want my hands filthy. And I want to be a little protected gloves. And those are the thinner ones, or mechanics gloves. Now, why did they go and twist that? So, make it so difficult for the simplest of things like a cotter pin. We'll take the one side off it. For those that don't know it, oh geez, that's all loose. Can you see that? I haven't taken the nut off, but I'll show you. Because this is one of those. You can't see it, you can hear it. So that's wonderful. Use the right stuff, put it together right. That's all I can tell you. Let's move you in a little closer here. Going down. So in case you didn't know, this is a cotter pin tool. Now that's different than a hose tool. This is meant to pry against something to get it loose, which in this particular instance, I really can't because of the location. But I do have it started, so then you can use it to put something against and pry. See how easy that is? Now the difference is, I know this is just silliness along the way, but if you learn something, you learn something. This is a hose tool. You slide it around the hose just to get it loose. The difference is in the profile. And you can see this one is meant for getting in its heavier duty. This is just for rubber hoses, and I've already bent the end of it because I used it for something that it wasn't supposed to be for. No surprise. So there's the one cotter pin in the front suspension. The other side doesn't even have one. Well, maybe it does. If it does, it ain't much of one. As I put these tools away, I'm also going to grab a little bit of WD-40 kind of stuff and see if we can't get lucky and get those bolts loose without a fight. The threads below them look pretty bad. But if it's anything like the rest of this car, they're loose anyway. Let's see if a 7/8 will fit. Nope, it's bigger, so it must be 15/16 or somewhere thereabouts. So we'll grab one of them. This stuff is kind of hard to find, but it is really, really good stuff. I don't know what kind of witchcraft is in it, but it truly is amazing compared to most of the others. PB Blaster, all of them. Okay. Well, that's good news, actually. So it is tight enough to actually hold it together a little bit. So we'll grab a 1/2-inch ratchet. Let's find a good one. Here, this will make you proud. Feel better now? This is a 1/2-inch swivel snap-on ratchet. I'm scared to even look to see how much it costs today. And it's missing a screw. Oh, guess what? They aren't coming out without a fight. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the radius arms back up and in. That will stabilize the front suspension so that the wheels don't try and roll off like they're trying to do now. Let's see if we can get one up in here easily. There's one. I guess I could have loosened all these up first, huh? Wasn't anything important. It's all good. Oh, just noticed something else. These don't even have lock nuts on them for the radius arm attachment, which they aren't going to unscrew. The problem with that is that as they work back and forth, they can take the threads out. So that's not good either. All right. Now I'll get back out of here, get back in there, and we'll hit them one time. If this doesn't get it, I do have a bad dude impact wrench. Oh. There's one. I'll tell you what, these sons of bitches are tight. I'm kind of afraid I'm going to roll the frame off of the jacks. Ugh. Nope. We'll get on that a little different. Let's go ahead and get the other one loose. Now we need something to hold that top in place, which gives me an idea for how to loosen the other one. So one rolled right out of there. I want to show you this because this is rather scary once again. I don't know how well you can see this. Can you see how bent that is? It's pretty bent. And that's just the way it came out. So it's been wobbling. Now the other side is in there so tight I can't get it loose. So I took the lift up a little bit. I put some Corolla oil in it. And the reason it won't come loose is because, ow, watch your head, is because inside the axle, apparently this is stuck. Now, I can't grab a hold of the radius arm and pull side to side because the tires move. So what I'm going to do is just let her soak and let her soak and let her soak and hit her with a spray, and then I'll put on my pseudo safety glasses and I'll smack it with a hammer a couple times, which you can see I've already done. And then, oh, it moved. So it is trying. So we'll just continue to do the same and hope that we can get it to move. I can't get it to turn, because if I could get it to turn, that would help. The pin actually, but it ain't turning either. So we'll just keep squirting and hoping. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and drag the old frame, the new frame outside, so I can get this down on the ground. Then I'll roll this axle off the front of the lift, go ahead and do the back, and then we'll take this frame out once I get some help. So I'll go ahead and do all that. You aren't missing anything. Let's see how this side is. Yeah, there's very little play in the kingpins. And the problem with the kingpins is, just so everybody's on the same page with me, is they put the locking pins in from the wrong side and literally drove them right through. They go in from the other side. So I'll swap that out too. I may just go ahead and I know I got to flip the axle around. I may just go ahead and do it the right way. Well, that is the right way. Just turn the whole thing around. So then I'll have to revamp these, which I can do. But I have to change those pins, so let's hit her again just for grins. I'd really like to see that thing just pop. Oh, it's going to be a fun one. Probably going to end up getting it loose, and then I'm going to have to cut the end off because I mushroomed it so much. But Okay, so we got that out of here. What's that on the ground? Oh, it's bushings and stuff. Well, that's interesting. Oh, this is the magic of the heim joints for the back of the radius arms. He's got a nut jammed over top of a bushing to space it in his magic brackets. More garbage. We'll put that in the front suspension garbage bucket, which I guess is this one. Okay, so that's out of the way. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop it down. The reason I had to move that, I couldn't get the lift all the way down. I'm going to drop it all the way down. I'm going to pull the front plates, and I'm going to go ahead and roll that off on the floor. Once I get it on the floor, then I will go ahead and flip that thing over and beat it silly and try and get it apart. So that's the plan at this point. So stand by. I'll be back. Okay, this will be fun. Let's see how this works out. I'm not going to put the ramps up. I think I can get this girl wound up in time, so I'll back you up a little ways and you can watch the fun. There's the lift. There's the winch. It should clear. I'm going to get her out here a little ways. What's the worst thing can happen, right? It's just going to fall off on the ground. Let's see. Three, two, one. Looky there. Well, that was too easy. All right, so now I'm going to roll her over, start beating her with a hammer. Let's see how that works. Oh, well, that worked okay. All right, let's lay you over. Now it's going to stand back up. We probably need to block that tire, but let's see what happens, shall we? A couple pieces of kindling ought to do it. Those of you that know me know that when I moved from Hawaii, I vowed to never wear pants again, if I could help it. Well, here we are, moved to Tennessee, wearing pants. I'll tell you right now, I don't like it. Because I get up in the morning, it's cold, you need pants. Then, by this time of day, it's 65 degrees outside. You don't need pants. Just can't make up its mind. But it's a beautiful time of year here, so I'll tolerate it. And then soon, it'll be cold all the time. All right, here we go. Ta-da! Now, let me grab something and see if I can turn it. Because if I can turn it a little bit, I can push it back in, cut it off, and use a punch to drive it the rest of the way out. Yeah, that ain't happening. Well, that's what you have this stuff for. Safety first. I took them off. All right, it's in the hole now. So now we'll get a punch. Oh, watch out for that. And not use a screwdriver. See if we can drive that down through there. Leave my little hammer behind. I'm going to grab a pair of ice grips. Why, you ask? Because I know being a hammer. So we'll use this. This is an old chipping hammer that I broke long ago, but it's perfect for stuff like this. All right, let's see if we can make this fall apart. Here we go. You like apples? I like them apples. All right, one less thing that we have to truly fight with. I was hoping it wouldn't put up too much of a fight. That is a forged steel axle, and you don't want to heat it up too much. I could be wrong. It may not be forged steel, but it seems to me that they were. I know the steering arms were. Okay, here we go. And there you have it. Well, I don't see if you can notice how much of an angle there is in that. That's how much caster's supposed to be in the front end of this. And obviously, now another thing I've got to do is I've got to take both of these off, find a nut that I can put behind it to lock it in place, because they just shouldn't be loose, and make a proper bracket that keeps them in line so they don't just wobble. So there we have it. Radius arms out, front suspension gone. Now we go to the back. We'll do the same thing with the back. In order to do the back, though, I think what I'm going to do, if I have the height, I may roll it forward and flip it over, which would mean that when I unbolt the frame, it'll fall. I don't know. No, it'd be easier to just pick it off of there. All right, so I will coordinate with some friends, see if I can get them over here to give me a hand picking the frame off. So we'll be back. Today's front suspension video is done. The next one will be probably tomorrow for the rear suspension. And then we will start to mock up the new stuff. Please remember to like and subscribe. I made it over 400 subscribers. I am so happy. I couldn't be more pleased with how far it's come. Thank you guys all so much for watching this idiot try and make a few videos. I still don't know what I'm doing, as you can tell, when it comes to videography or whatever they want to call it, cinematography. But I do know a couple big words. But we're coming along. Tell your friends, share the videos, like and subscribe, all that blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of fun showing people what I can do and how to do things. I hope you appreciate it. And I hope maybe along the way you learn something, get a laugh for my stupidity, and away we go. Once again, thank you all for watching. I'll be back soon. GoPro, stop recording.